Again, did 3 years as a project officer in Kawakapu Tibetan Culture Center. It's down at Kanki Library. Okay. So I would like to hand over the mic to her and let her start about the actual topic. Thank you.
Tashidele, warm welcome to all of you. So you all are aware of the topic on which I'm going to speak. That is about the private schools inside Tibet. Any one of you, have you ever been to Tibet? Anyone? Okay. Since Tibet is under the Communist Party of China, right now it is a part of People's Republic of China. Normally, we say that in China or in Tibet, it's very difficult to get Tibetan education to the Tibetan students, because in all the schools in Tibet or in China, the curriculum, the subjects, everything that are taught in schools and colleges that are mainly connected to the Chinese culture, Chinese history, etc. But here I have something different to speak about. That is some success stories of some of the private schools in Tibet. So today I will focus on 3 different schools inside Tibet. The first one is Jigme Gyaltsen, his school, Jigme Gyaltsen Welfare School and Grasslands Girls School. These are 2 schools run by this person, Jigme Gyaltsen. And another one, the second one, it is Tata schools. There are 2 Tata schools. One is in Kamtau and another one is in Amdogolok. Again 2 schools under the name of Tata Tibetan Village Schools. And the third one is Kyungba School. That is in Kamlithang. So it has got 1 school and later on it was extended to middle school. So this is Jigme Gyaltsen, a simple Tibetan Buddhist monk, and he is 52 years old, and he established this school, Jigme Gyaltsen Welfare School, in 1994. This is just a view of his school, Jigme Gyaltsen Welfare School, and in between him and his school there is the Yellow River. So now why this school is, why I consider this school a successful private school, because of some of these unique features. The first one is Jigme Gyaltsen Welfare School. This is the very first private school in the whole Qinghai province. So Qinghai province, it has the population of around 5.5 million. So there are 3 different nationalities: Tibetan, Mongolian and Chinese. So this is the first private school in the whole province. And another unique thing about this school is, it gives equal opportunity to education to both the monks and lay people. Normally, the schools, they give opportunity only to lay people, right? And the monks and nuns, they study in monasteries and nunneries. So this school provides education to both the monks as well as the lay people. And thirdly, this school, it imparts education from both traditional as well as modern education. So it is a kind of mixture, because the school founder, the principal, Jigme Gyaltsen, he considers very important to give traditional education to the Tibetan students. So at the same time, modern education is the necessity of time. So both kinds of education are given. And fourthly, in the schools, in both the schools, they use debate and logic. That is an aspect, important part of the Buddhism. So they use debate and logic in teaching and learning process. And the most astounding, thing is that, the school was established back in 1994. But they have teachers, non-teaching staff also. All of them have volunteered for 15 long years. Yeah, they started getting salary only from 2009. So these are some of the remarkable, features, why this school is really successful, and it has become very popular not only amongst Tibetans in Tibet, but also amongst, Chinese and foreigners also. So this is just some pictures from his school, Jigme Gyaltsen, with his students. Now, what is the objective of this school? That is to contribute to the promotion of Tibetan culture and education. It is very simple and very clear. And currently, there are around 600 students studying in the school, and they have around 50 staff working there. And once Jigme Gyaltsen, the principal, the founder of the school, he said that, I enroll about 150 students annually, but receive more than 1,000 applications every year. So that means it clearly shows the popularity of the school amongst the Tibetan people. They receive more than 1,000 applications, but only 150 students they get admission in the school, and the rest of them they stay in waiting list. They may get chance next year. And about the admission, they do admit. The admission time is in September every year. They do this kind of admitting students in the school. And about the curriculum of the school, they have two levels. The first one is elementary level. Okay, very basic foundation. There, all the illiterates, who are very much zealous, passion to study, they are given admission, and they are taught 3 languages: Tibetan, Chinese, and English. 3 languages are taught to the students in elementary level, and the second one is advanced professional level. So these students, the students who graduate from elementary level, if they are very smart, very intelligent, and can study further, then they continue studying in this level also. Otherwise, they are given some vocational trainings. Okay, and in advanced professional level, most of the students are graduated from other senior middle schools, that is high school. Okay, those who are graduated from other high school or other colleges, they come to study further in this school. And what they learn from this school, these students need to specialize on one subject, either Tibetan language, English language, Chinese language, or computer, Tibetan medicine, Thangka painting. So these are some of the major subjects they have to specialize on. Now, why I consider this school as one of the successful private schools. So these are some of the success stories about the school. I have statistics till 2013. So according to that, they had around 934 graduates who completed their study in the school, and almost all of them have become very contributive members in the society, in the community. How? From them, 14 graduates have stayed back in the school, in the same school, and they have undertaken various responsibilities in the school. And from them, 277 graduates, they have become teachers, they have become physicians because they have learned Tibetan medicine, right? So they have become physicians and even merchants also. So that means, they have become, very contributive members in the society. And the school principal, he's very proud of saying that, 4 of his students, they have opened their own private school. So they took the example of their own teacher. So he's very proud of saying that. And among them, 372 graduates, they are pursuing higher studies in different schools and colleges. And most of the monk graduates, they also have, monk students also. So after graduation, they go back to their monasteries and undertake different, responsibilities in their respective monasteries. And to add some other, achievements of the school is both the schools, Jigme Gyaltsen Welfare School as well as Grassland Girls School. Both of schools, they have received numerous awards, as well as their principal also, Jigme Gyaltsen. They have received many, awards at national, provincial, or county levels. And the students also, they have published a number of books, magazines, newspapers, and in addition to that, the teachers also, they worked really hard and they published many textbooks, in order to give supplementaries in the school. And very recently, like in 2013, 88 students from both the schools, they got opportunity to study in the US and Japan. And they were supposed to leave last year in 2014, but due to certain reasons, they couldn't go. Now, we can hear, we can see the comments made by a Chinese teacher who visited the school once. The teacher has written, that school, Jigme Gyaltsen Welfare School, it's a teacher's heaven. Students are thirsty for knowledge. They regard teachers as light in darkness and respect them. Relationships between students and teachers are both equal and harmonious. So this is the comment made by this Chinese teacher after visiting the school. And these are some of the pictures of the Grassland Girls School. And we have the second school, Tata School. So Tata School, normally it was established by a small association, a small organization based in Germany. Anyone of you from Germany? Yeah? So you must be very proud of it. So this Tata project, it was initiated from Germany, but the founders are Tibetans. Now they have established two schools. Okay, the first one was in Kham province, Kham Tau, that is in 1997, and the second school was established in Golok, that is Amdo province, in 2005. Now we will see details of this school. Now you can see the first picture here. It's not very clear. Here is Dr. Lobsang Palden. He's a physician in Germany, and he was very small, taken from Tibet to Germany back in 1963. And since then, at that time he was very, very young, very small, and he was nurtured in a children's village there. And there he met his would-be wife. So they two are the founding couple of their school. And they have their friend Yishi Gombo and some German friends and Swiss friends. So they are, a very small organization, but could establish these two, wonderful schools in Tibet. So, but they are staying in Germany, and they have, the principals, administrative staff back in Tibet. And Thupten Nyima is the principal of Golok Tata School, and Principal Yishi Kanto, she's the principal of the Tau Tata School. And both the schools have 50 staff each, and what the special thing about these schools that, they have many volunteer teachers, either Tibetan language teacher or English language teacher. Majority of the Tibetan language teachers are volunteers from monasteries. And the English language teachers are from Western countries. So that is the unique part of these schools. And now what is the objective of this Tata school? To provide orphans and abandoned children in Tibet with a home, first home. Because Tata, Tao and Golok, it's very, like a very remote place, and they have very poor facility regarding health, education, and then due to the lack of health facilities, many people they die of by minor illness. Because of that, there are many orphans. So in order to provide those orphans a home, homely comfort or health facility, that is the number one priority of the school. And later, and education. If they get education, they become independent. They could start with a career, and later on they become a contributive, member in the community. So these are some of the objectives of the school. And if they are not very smart in the academic field, they are given vocational trainings as well, so that they can support themselves in the future. So in both the schools, so far there are around 550 students. Tau Tata School, it was started with primary school only, that is from 1st grade to 6th grade. But Golok School, it was able to extend with the middle school, and it has now till class 9 standard. Okay, the lower middle school we say, junior middle school. So these are some of the pictures of the Tata School back in 97 during the early period. Now, what are taught in Tata schools? What is curriculum? In the primary schools, all the subjects are taught in Tibetan, and they also teach Chinese language as well as English. And in Golok Middle School, now since the Tau Tata School, they don't have middle school. Now Golok Middle School, they teach science, subjects with 3 other languages. But Tau School, though they don't have middle school, but the students, if they can't continue with their higher studies, they are given vocational trainings like thangka painting, carpet weaving, tailoring, etc. So these are some of the vocational trainings given to students in Tata School. And last year, the principal of the Golok Tata School, Mr. Thuptin Ngima, at the center, he got award as one of the most competent teachers in whole Qinghai province. So that's very, and this, here I have a story about a girl. Normally in orphanage, now in both the Tata schools, they are like orphanage, because majority of the students are orphans. Okay, so they have their own, individual stories, how they come to Tata school, their stories. Now let's say, for example, she is Meton Hanze. They are 4 siblings, okay, and their father abandoned the whole family, and he never came back. And their mother also, she passed away after suffering from tuberculosis. So they left orphans. They didn't have anyone to take care of except grandmother. So she took care of them for some years, but she also passed away. So these orphans, they were brought to the Tata school, and since then they have been given education in the Tata school. Likewise, all these orphans, they have their own stories. So why they come to school? Not for education. They come to these schools in order to get the basic necessities of life: food, clothing, and accommodation. That's it. So they come at very young age. Just for example, Kesam Chidin. She was only 15 months old that time. She also has 5 siblings, and she was not even born that time. Their father abandoned, and then their mother also passed away when Kesa Chidin was born. All the 5 siblings, they were left in a nomadic tent. They didn't have neighbors to ask for help. They suffered. The elder children, elder siblings, they went far to beg for food. So in the meantime, some people saw these kids, and they informed the Tata school, and Tata school immediately took these students to their school. So since then they have been given full love, care, affection, and education. So in these schools, the students, they not only get love and care, but also very standard quality education, from where they learn and they enrich the knowledge, they gain confidence, to challenge all the difficulties in life. And another unique things, about these schools are, they have debate hours every day. So this is also an important, aspect of Tibetan Buddhism. Whatever they learn in the morning, they debate in the afternoon, by reasoning. And in the evening, they have traditional dance in both the schools. We can see the school principal, Thupten Nyima, who got the prestigious award last year. Dawal Hamu, she had heart operation last year, before last year, a couple of years back, and now he's fully recovered now. He gained, so much love, attention from everyone, including principal himself. And here is Mr. Beat, who visits these schools very often. He's from Switzerland. Since the couple founders, they don't get visa since 2008, their friends, they visit these schools and meet the children there and see the requirements. And these are some of the comments made by visitors who have visited the school back in 2013 and 2014. Pascal Hart, he said, "Thank you, dear children, you're extraordinary. Beat was right, that man. You give us more than we can ever offer you." And Bina Zubair, she said, I underlined that, "In the time I was there, I learned much from these children, to trust people, to trust the future, and to have trust in myself." So there was a kind of, a sense of fulfillment. They commented as if, it was worth visiting these schools. Now the third school about which I'm going to speak is about Kyungba school. It's written CH, but in Tibetan it is Kyungba. Okay, and it was established in 2002, and the founders are in Canada. Anyone from Canada? Yeah, so the founding couple, here. These are the founders, Pencho Rabke, the father, Pencho Rabke and Tsiring Rabke. Pencho Rabke was the factory worker. His whole life, he was a factory worker, and he and his wife, they wished, they dreamt to have a school in their home, Lithang, in Tibet. So they used all their lifelong savings to establish this school, and they have two beautiful daughters, Dr. Tashi Rabke and Dr. Lobsang Rabke. Now all of them are in Canada, but they have a really big project back in Tibet, and they have a small organization as well that is called Machik. Machik, one mother in Tibetan, Machik. So to talk about the school, it was established in 2002 at Kyungba Township in Lithang, that is in Sichuan province of China. And early, they started with only 64 students. Right now they have around 800 students in the school. Yeah, and the school provides students everything at free of cost. Not only education, home, food, clothing, everything is given at free of cost. And then Kyungba school, initially when it was established in 2002, it was only primary school, from 1st standard to 6th standard, only primary school. When these students reached the final year in 2007, they extended it with the middle school in 2008. So now they have both the primary school as well as the middle school, and today it is the first rural middle school in the whole county. And today is one of the 6 middle schools in Kansai prefecture, which has around 1 million Tibetan population, and they teach everything in Tibetan language. So that is the uniqueness of this school. Now why I consider this private school very successful, a very kind of model school in Tibet, because when they started their journey in 2002, in the first year itself they stood first in exam, amongst 53 schools in county. So that really gained the student as well as the school, they gained popularity not only in county but in the whole prefecture as well. So it has become a top performing students school in the whole county, and the first ever graduating class of the Kyungba school again placed first in the final exams in the whole county, not only in Tibetan but also in Chinese. So the primary school, the first grade, they stood first in the whole county, and the final year, that is the 6th standard, right? So they again stood first. So with that, it really broke the stereotype that people have from the potential of rural Tibetan children. They considered, nomads and the farmers, they don't have that brain in academic field and this and that, all these stereotypes. These students proved that, they too have potential to excel in the education. So in recognition of this achievement of the school as well as of the students, the county as well as prefecture level governments, they awarded the school and students. And now the school has become a regional model in all the 18 counties of the prefecture. It has become a model school. And it has become a top performing bilingual school also, with Tibetan language as the medium of instruction. Normally, majority of the schools inside Tibet, they use Chinese language as the medium of instruction, but this is the very successful school which shows and which proves that Tibetan language as a medium of instruction can be as successful as other language. And all the subjects including science, maths are taught in Tibetan. Till now, more than 150 students have graduated from Kyungba Middle School and pursuing their higher studies in different high schools and colleges. So this is the result last year and this year. So we can see the first batch of Kyungba School, they started with only 64 students back in 2002, and in 2014 they are now young girls and boys have graduated their high school, and now they are first year graduate students. So these students are called Kelen scholars. Kelen is again a Tibetan term that means promise. Yeah, they were given a promise by the school founders when they started their journey that they will be given a quality education. That was promise made by the founders, school founders, and these that promise more or less fulfilled so far. Now they have a promise now to complete their education and to come back to the community and to serve the community. So they are called Kelen scholars. So they are now first year, they have graduated their first year in college, in different colleges. And I have taken some examples now. These students from the rural Kyungba township, these people, these students are the first generation in the whole Kyungba township to get the quality education. And now this girl, Chimilamo, she stood first on the college entrance exam. And then now she's studying in the prestigious Central University for Nationalities in Beijing. And Tring Dorji, he's studying in Northwestern University for Nationalities. And Tring Lamu, she's studying at Southwest University for Nationalities. Tashi Chenzo is studying Gansu Normal University. And then Snom Tokil, he's studying in Qinghai Normal University. And Jamyang Tenzin, he's studying in University of Toronto from this rural, So 4.08% is the rate of illiteracy. Illiteracy rate is very high, 4.08. That means more than 54 million people are illiterate in China. Can you imagine the number then? So these private schools at very grassroots level, they give, education. And that also helps the individuals also, the society also, and the nation So with this, I have a question. I want to end my presentation with a question. Even though the People's Republic of China, considers having private schools very important, significant, necessary, and because of that, they have also enacted a law, that is the law of People's Republic of China on the promotion of privately run schools in 2002. There is a law in China. But why do some of the Chinese authorities and officials in province, prefecture, county level governments close or forced to close the private schools in Tibetan regions? Thank you very much.
If you have any question, you can ask regarding the topic or whatever.
Okay.
So how come these schools haven't been closed down in the 3 schools you
No.
mentioned?
These schools are not closed
But,
yet.
but why aren't they? That's what I'm asking.
Why these schools are not?
The law have asked. If some of the authorities are closing them, how come these ones are thriving?
Yeah, this is a really a
It's
big
great.
question for me also.
Great
Yeah,
they are.
and I'm also curious to know
Mm.
from the founders, but it is very difficult to know exactly. But from my perception, from my knowledge, what I think that first and foremost thing is they know the laws, policies, regulations in China. They study thoroughly. What are the rights, what are the duties of Chinese citizens. So they must have very in-depth knowledge about the Chinese laws. So that is number one. And number two is it might be it might depends upon individuals now how influential they are, and how much effort they can give to one's project like this. So it depends, and it also depends upon the areas, regions, because there are different levels of government. Just for example, here about these now 2 to 5 now amongst 5 schools, 2 are in Sichuan province and 3 are in Qinghai province. So I think it is also it also depends upon the nature of the governments or the government officials. Yeah, I think yes.
Have you been to Tibet?
Never.
Never.
I'm born and brought up in India.
So how do you do your research? I guess you communicated with Tibet?
It's very difficult. It's
Okay,
very
so-
difficult. So mostly through secondary sources. Yeah, from books, online resources, and yes, in the recent past, we used to have many Tibetans coming from inside Tibet, and we get good first-hand information about the local conditions, about schools, about language rights, or about anything. But after 2008. So it's very difficult to get first-hand information, so we rely on secondary sources for research. But about these schools, the 2 of them, Tata schools, the founders are in Germany, and the Kungpa schools, the founders are in Canada. So they produce their annual reports, and they keep on writing things, so I need to follow them. Even on Facebook also. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
You mentioned 2 provinces.
Yeah.
That's not Tibet.
Yes, it is.
It's also
yes,
part of
yes.
Tibet.
Yeah. So actually today, it's my topic is about the private school. So I didn't introduce with the basic things about Tibet. Normally Tibet, from our side, now it depends on the speakers, okay?
Yeah.
Now, when I say about Tibet, it includes all the 3 traditional provinces, okay? So that means half of the present China's landmass, 2.5 million square kilometer. So it has got, we have 3 traditional provinces, Uzang, Kham, and Amdo, okay? And currently, after the Chinese occupation, the whole Tibet has been, divided into different administrative units, and the majority, the half, is under the Tibet Autonomous Region. Okay, and the other part is in Qinghai Province, Sichuan Province, Gansu Province, Yunnan Province. So these 4 provinces of China, half part of Tibet are incorporated into these Chinese areas. And from, when Chinese people, when they talk about Tibet, it means only the so-called, TAR, Tibet Autonomous Region. Yeah.
Because how big was Tibet then when your Tibet? How big is that's original
Which one?
size?
Yes. 2.5 million square kilometer. That means having the whole part.
You
I
can
don't
see
have-
down
Yeah,
there.
I just
Yeah.
went up, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's half landmass of present China. So how?
Half landmass of present China?
Yeah, it's very big. Yeah. Now you can Google.
Yeah. no,
Yeah,
no.
it's very big.
Never knew that.
Actually, it was like traditionally we are considering the Tibet as the map that
Mhm.
downstairs.
Okay, then I'll check.
Mm.
Yeah.
And how many Tibetans are still alive? Sorry, living in
There's 6 million.
6 million?
Yeah, we are only 100,000.
Oh, in
In
exile,
exile.
it's like only 100,000
Yeah.
Tibetans. Majority are in Tibet.
Yeah.
Yes, there are 6. We consider 6 million people, and
That's
about that's Tibetan. And majority of staying there, but in exile, it's just like around 100,000 people.
Okay.
Yes.
Any more question? Okay, then I just conclude it. Actually,
No, before you conclude, I must thank my big
yeah.
audience. Thank you so much for your attention and your really and interesting questions also. Yeah, and thank you very much for coming here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
As a token of appreciation, like Tibetan Museum, we would like to hand over like a scarf Tibetan style of thanking people. And I would like to just inform to you that we are organizing the talk twice a month, and even like if you can't attend here, you can watch from the social media. Today is the technology.
Like this?
So yeah, we are just putting everything into YouTube. The topic and the talk, everything will be in the YouTube.
So you have
Here,
Facebook?
I'll be just Facebook and everything is there. You can just check out here. It's there. Facebook and everything we have. We are just handing over to you this
Thank
one,
you.
so that you can check out later. And we have small refreshment over there, a tea and a biscuit, and you can join there. It's just brochure and the newsletter.
Interesting.